We've all heard the expression, famous last words. Well, I want to talk about the last words of Chris, the market trader, who was standing up here just a moment or two ago talking with Yvonne about Jesus. And yes, they were talking about Jesus because we've been looking at a modern dress version of the crucifixion and the burial of Jesus of Nazareth on that first Good Friday nearly 2,000 years ago. And towards the end of his piece, Chris, talking about Jesus, said this. He said, listen, the guy's dead, he's on his way to the cemetery, and therefore he's not coming back. But of course, if he did, ... he'd be like nobody else on earth. And Chris was right to say it. And of course, now you know why we're here. Because he did come back from the dead. And he isn't like anybody else on earth. But of course, in saying that, I'm saying something that's bonkers, because we all know that's completely and utterly impossible, and it really doesn't matter who you are. You can be a king, you can be a commoner, you can be a celebrity, you can be a nobody, but when you're dead, that's it, full stop. But Jesus of Nazareth did come back from the dead. The sheer weight of the historical evidence is overwhelming, and millions are convinced by it. So instantly we've got a real problem. Because on the one hand, we know it's completely and utterly impossible, but on the other, it happened. So how do we account for it? Well, it seems to me the only reasonable explanation is that the Creator, capital C, the one who imparts the spark of life in the first place, made it happen. If you like, the big guy, God, raised Jesus of Nazareth from the dead. But why on earth would he do that to this Jewish preacher stroke wonder worker and nearly 2,000 years ago? Because by doing what only God could do, he was thereby personally and of course publicly rubber stamping, and if you like, giving the thumbs up to everything that Jesus of Nazareth ever said or claimed. In effect, he was saying to the world, hey guys, he's kosher, he's the real deal. He's not a fake, he's not a phony, you can trust him with your life. Everything he says is solid gold. You can take my word for it. Now that's a fantastic endorsement, but that was nearly 2,000 years ago. What possible difference could it make to our lives in the 21st century? Well, I like to think of it like this. Imagine yourself, you're down at the pub, having a jar or two with your mates, or perhaps you've got some friends round for a meal. The wine's beginning to flow, and you know what happens in that situation. People really relax and they begin to philosophize. And people say things like, what on earth is the meaning of life? I mean, why are we here? I mean, when it comes to these big questions, we make jokes about it, but actually, we're all in the dark. Well, it may have been nearly 2,000 years ago, but it was Jesus of Nazareth who said, exactly. But I'm the light of the world. And if you're in the dark about the meaning of life, come to me, and I'll shed all the light that you need on the subject. Or there again, going back to the pub, going back to the party, occasionally people say things like, well, you know me, I'm a bit of a whiner. For me, the glass is always half empty rather than half full. But I shouldn't complain really, because life's okay. I mean, I'm not ill. I'm not living in a hut with hardly enough to eat and drink. Life's okay. But it's strange, because deep down inside, I'm empty. Well, it was Jesus of Nazareth who said, yes, exactly. But I'm the bread of life. And if you know that deep down inside you're empty, come to me. I'll give you nourishment for your soul, and you'll never be hungry again. Or there again, going back to the pub, going back to the party, just occasionally, people will say things like this. Don't be fooled by my respectable exterior, because I'm not a saint. In some ways, I'm a haunted man, haunted by my past. Some of the things that I've said and done make me cringe. I feel really guilty, and I've got this horrible suspicion that one day I'll be called to account. Well, it was Jesus of Nazareth who said, yes. And I'm the judge of the whole earth. One day all men and women will stand before me. But listen, come to me now while there's still time, and let me deal with all of that for you, because I can. I'm the light of the world. I'm the bread of life. I'm the judge of all the earth. Now, those are fantastic claims, but the $64,000 question is this. How do we know if they're true or not? Jesus could have been simply a very clever liar, or I think more likely, hopelessly deluded. Lunatic, liar, liar, lunatic, you pays your money, you takes your choice. And you may be tempted to sort of throw up your hands and say, look, I just give up. Haven't a clue who the guy was. God knows who the guy was. But that's the point we're making. It is only God. And therefore God has done what only he can do. And in raising him from the dead, he's saying to the world, he's kosher. He's the real deal. You could trust him with your life. But, and with this I finish, it certainly didn't look like that on that first Good Friday. On that first Good Friday, I mean, you saw the drama. It's a fact. Jesus of Nazareth was lying in a tomb. He was stone dead. His mother was in bits. They don't call her the Mater Dolorosa, the mother of sorrows, for nothing. Most of his disciples had legged it. Not an impressive start to the Christian church, I hear you mutter. But you see, all of that was on the Friday. Sunday was coming. Or on that first Good Friday, the Roman judge, the bent Roman magistrate who knowingly sentenced an innocent guy to crucifixion, imagined he'd washed his hands of Jesus of Nazareth. But you see, that was on the Friday. Sunday was coming. And on that first Good Friday, get a load of this, the priests, and not only them, but the God Squad, the Bible thumpers like me, who had so wanted him dead and sneered as the man died, no doubt as they took the corpse away were muttering, good riddance to bad rubbish. But that was the Friday. Sunday was coming. And no doubt on this Good Friday, there are people who are shaking their heads and saying, you Christians are nuts. Check out your own drama. By your own admission, the guy was stone dead. Well, that's it. When you're dead, full stop, end of story. But that was all on the Friday. And Sunday was coming. And on this Good Friday, yep, that's the situation. But on this Sunday, it's going to be quite different. Because in churches, not only in Stamford, but all over the globe, millions of people are going to be celebrating that when you are dead, it is not the end of the story. That the impossible has happened. That God has raised Jesus of Nazareth from the dead and is telling us all, he's kosher, he's the real deal, you can trust him with your life, you've got my word on the subject, he's my son. So come and celebrate with us. And you know, Jesus is still in the business of changing people's lives. And if you ask him, really ask him, he'll change yours. As Charles Dickens might well have put it, do you realize that even now, he stands in the Spirit at your elbow? Gosh, what a thought.